Hey, and welcome to our video guide. Today's video, we are going to learn how to use triggered actions to send an email on specific field change. The use case that I'm using in today's video is project management. We have a user table, we have a projects table, and we have a task table. The trigger is going to happen on the projects table. And inside this trigger, we're going to have three separate actions. The first action is going to be to update every single task as completed if the project status equals to completed. Now, I covered off in a separate video on how to use triggered actions to update child records. So if you want to see a more comprehensive setup, you can watch that video. In today's use case, I already have it built, so I'm just going to walk you through on how that first action was created. The second action is going to happen on the projects table. And all we're going to do is stamp today's date and time once the project status equals to completed. And the final action, which is the main point of today's video, is to send an email to every user that's associated with a task once the project equals to completed. So now let's go back out to the tables menu, go into the projects table, click on triggered actions, click on edit. So as I mentioned, I will walk you through the first two actions inside this trigger, and then we're going to build the third action together to send an email. So let's take a look at this. We have run action on update of data, and all I want is to update the table of tasks and set the task status to equals to completed once the project is completed. I created two different joins. First join is with the inserted table where project ID equals to task project ID, and we have to do that so that the system knows what tasks are you actually completing if the project status equals to completed. And the second join is with the projects table, and as you can see, we have two different conditions here. The first one is if the status equals to completed, go ahead and update every single task as completed as well. The second condition here is if the original status is not equal to completed. What that means is that this action will only fire if the previous status is not completed and changed to completed. In other words, let's say you completed the project and now you make an update to your title or description. I don't want this action to run again if the status equals to completed. So that's why we add the second condition as a guardrail to prevent from this action running again if the status already equals to completed. However, if the status is not completed, and then change to completed, only then will this action run. The second action is to simply add a time and date once the project equals to completed. So as you can see, my update is on the inserted table of projects, set to completed on today's date, which is a simple timestamp. We do the inner join with the inserted table and the projects table. And again, we have the same two conditions. Once the project equals to completed, go ahead and update the date on the projects table. And then we have the second condition, just like in the previous action, where the project status not equal to completed, only run this action once if the original status is not completed, meaning maybe it's new or in progress. And then when you change the status to completed, only then do the timestamp. So what that means is, let's say the status is already completed and now you change the title or description for whatever reason. I don't want to do a new timestamp inside that field. It only stamps once if the original status is something other than completed. And now let's build that final action to send an email. So you go under actions, you drag send email. Let me scroll down a little bit, snap that in place. And you're going to have to set up three different joins. Let me go ahead and bring that in. So we're going to select, click on the second gear icon, do a join, and then click two more times to add. And we need to do a join with the task table. The reason why, because we need to know which employees that are linked to that task, to that project, are going to receive the email. And you simply just choose inserted project ID is equal to the task project ID. So that's our first join. The second join is going to be with the users table. And the reason why is because we need to grab the email that resides inside the user table. So you're simply going to say user ID. from the users table, and you want to link that to the assigned user ID from the tasks table. And the final join is going to be with the projects table. And here you're going to select, like we've done before, the project ID from the projects table and the project ID from the inserted projects table. And now you can go ahead and set up those same conditions. Little tip here, if you already had them created, you can just copy the whole thing, Control-C on the keyboard. If you take this out, paste, just drag that down here because it's going to be the same exact setup where the inserted status equals to completed, and then just change the second one of the projects table status to say not completed. That way you prevent sending further emails if you make changes to any of the fields in your table. And finally, all you have to do is compose your email. You can have your own verified email if you'd like. If you don't have that, it's going to send from Caspio. And then the to field, you drag over your field element, snap that in place. You can delete that and then just choose the email from the users table. You can come up with your own title or subject. And then you can compose your own message. So for example, the following project is completed. And then you can insert fields as parameters. So if you look inside the projects table, project name, add that inside, and that's it. So now we have 3 actions inside a single trigger to mostly upon update. So if you update the project status to completed, you're also updating all of the tasks as completed. You're also automatically stamping the date and time when that project is completed. And finally, we use 3 joins here to notify all of the task employees that are associated with the project. And then we can pull the email of the user if we do a join with the user table. And these 2 conditions are definitely important because once the status equals to completed, that's when the action fires. And then you use the second condition to prevent sending further emails if you make any more changes to your project after you set the status to completed. And now to test this out, let's go ahead and save it. Let's go back into our table of projects. Let's change the status to completed. Save underneath. You can see how it automatically stamped the date and time inside the projects table. Every single one of the tasks should be completed. And if I check my inbox, because I use myself as a user inside the users table, you will see I have my email, Raj Singh. So there's the email that came in. We have the subject. We also have the body of the email, exactly what I put inside the trigger. So that's how easy it is to set that up. I hope you enjoyed the video. For more information about triggered actions, you can always visit our knowledge base at howto.caspio.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.